Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wonder Series Wednesday. It's that time again. Yes, it is the time for you to wonder what life would be like if you looked at it from a different perspective, if you opened yourself up to the opportunities and the possibilities and changed your mindset. Who would you be? What would you create? And ultimately, how could that change your life and help you to create that healthy, happy life that you are looking for and live it with ease and grace? Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Denise Stiegel. I am the CEO and curator here at HealthyList.com, your health and wellness platform when it comes to health, wellness, personal development, and bringing a little bit of fun back into life. So, ladies, we are going to talk about something that is really close to our minds. We think about probably way too often, but we're confused, we're frustrated, and really the answers there, we never seem to get the answers about this particular topic. So what are we talking about? We are talking about menopause and perimenopause, because I think a lot of people don't realize that perimenopause can be a long time before you hit menopause. So maybe we'd like to touch on that as well. So ladies, to let you understand that you are not helpless when it comes to the side effects and long-term health implications of menopause. You can embrace menopause and make this the best time of your life. And my special guest today, my friend Carola Becker, is going to show you how and explain to you that this can be a great time in life. So a little bit about Carola real quick before I have her tell you a little bit more about herself. Carola is a nutritionist, a fitness instructor, living HealthyList expert, and speaker with a passion for brain health and performance. Carola helps organizations and individuals get fitter, sharper, and healthier with foods, lifestyle, and mindset. Carola, welcome. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Denise, for having me. Really lovely to be here. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Absolutely. Always love your accent. So it's always so fun. So tell us a little bit more about Carola. How did you get to this place in your career where you talk about brain health and menopause?
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to. Well, in the beginning, my story started as a nutritionist in the same way most other colleagues start the story. I was looking at how I helped myself, how I can help other people. But it was more the point that more and more people contacted me because they think, oh, I'm not having enough energy and I'm feeling down. And this was sometimes to do with the menopause, but sometimes it wasn't because I'm working with men as well. And I thought maybe there is something about the brain. And that sort of sparked my passion for the brain. And this is now, if you want, my little niche where I say everything is related to the brain, no matter how we feel, how we think, how we focus, how well we are, and last but not least, how well we do our jobs. So the brain is an amazing little organ.
And it's amazing. It's so true. Basically our brain kind of runs everything. So why wouldn't our brain be affected when it comes to this time of our life during menopause? And it's really not fair that men don't go through menopause.
Yes, I agree with you. It's absolutely not fair. But the interesting fact is that our brains age differently from the way a male brain ages. And the impact is clearly down to the menopause, because we can really help our brain to get better. Because as a result, women are more likely to be diagnosed with anxiety or even depression, as well as Alzheimer's and dementia, which is more prevalent in women.
Right. It's those numbers are really staggering because they're really high. I mean, the percentage of women
twice as many women are diagnosed with Alzheimer's than men. So and I think this is just it's just scary. And like you just said, we're really not helpless, because it's just down to the fact that the estrogen levels are declining. Obviously, we all know that, and but this is not a lack in cognitive performance, because this is what people always say. Oh my God, my brain energy is going down. Oh, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'll turn mad. This is not the case. You're just as sharp as you were before. We're just a little bit more tired, and we just have to look after ourselves.
So what about when people talk about brain fog? Is brain fog something similar, or is that really a side effect of some of this?
I mean, most people suffer every now and then from brain fog, but it's definitely one of the side effects of the menopause. So this is big part of it, and your lifestyle and the way you're eating has a massive impact on all of those side effects. Not only the hot flushes and the sleepless nights and all the things we're dealing with, the mood swings, because then there's your brain coming back in, but also you can future-proof your brain against all of that, which is, I think this is just amazing.
Well, it's amazing, but it's also kind of shocking that this is really the first conversation that I've had or that I've heard about really how our brain and menopause are affected, how kind of they affect one another. So what are some of the things that we can do? Like just today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the very first thing to think about would be obviously foods, because everybody needs to eat, and we can make clear, conscious decisions. So it's most likely that you have heard of the updated Mediterranean diet. So this is fresh fruit and vegetables, obviously, pulses, olives and their oil, whole grains, fish, nuts, seeds, eggs and dairy. Meat only plays a minor role in the Mediterranean diet. And it will not only help you keep your weight in check, but it will also help your cholesterol levels and balancing your blood pressure. Another two side effects from the menopause, which can have an impact on your future health. The other one to point out are the so-called phytoestrogens. That's foods that have an effect in your body in exactly the same way natural estrogen would have in your body. So they include, if you would like to take your pen and write them down, all the cruciferous vegetables. That's cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, for example. All whole grains. I know this is a little bit tricky depending on where you are in the world finding whole grains, but it's worth looking for them. A whole grain bread tastes so much nicer than a white bread. Berries and melons, for example, are really high in phytoestrogens. Sesame seeds, flax seeds, sunflower seeds, sprinkle them over your breakfast, over your salad. There's loads of ideas where you can use seeds. Almonds and walnuts, for example, really high in phytoestrogens. And you can literally, these are all everyday foods. Just add them whenever you can, and then you can have an additional way of phytoestrogens in your diet, which can help you feel a little bit better day by day.
I think that you make a good point. Just writing them down and keeping them on your fridge.
Yeah,
this
list.
Way, because most people have, I would say 90% of those foods in their house on a regular basis.
Yeah,
I know I do.
Agree.
I know I do. And I just thought about it. I had a shake this morning just because it's quick. And, I add cinnamon, I add some spices, and I thought, oh, you know what? I didn't add my flax seeds this morning.
Yep.
Speaking of flax seeds, is it best to eat the flax seeds whole or to grind them?
I would definitely grind them. The reason for that is because the outer shell of the flax seeds is really hard. So your body can't really get into all the goodness of the flax seeds. If you prefer to eat them whole, they're still very good for your digestion. But in terms of the nutrients which are in the flaxseed, I would have them ground. It's important to keep them in the fridge because flax seeds are very high in natural oils, which means they turn rancid relatively quickly if you keep them, especially if you're living in a warmer part of the world. you may want to keep them in the fridge.
That makes sense. I do. I actually keep mine. I keep mine in the. I guess I was gonna say I know I have some in the freezer because I had an extra bag, and it does. They keep so much longer because you don't need a lot of flax to gain the benefits.
No, I would say something between 1 and 3 teaspoons is enough during the day. But it doesn't matter if you want to eat more. Feel free. It doesn't really matter.
Right. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to. You can't really eat a ton of flax seeds.
No, you shouldn't.
I don't know what you eat them with. It's interesting when we talk about phytoestrogens, and I'm really, really intrigued with this whole conversation about the brain. I'm going to step back a little bit because you mentioned earlier that men's and women's brains age differently. How? I mean, other than the fact that obviously women have more estrogen than men have. Not that men don't have some estrogen. I think that's something that most women don't know.
That's true. Yes. I think the main difference is that testosterone, which is the main male hormone, declines slowly and mostly symptom-free. So if you look at a graph of testosterone, it sort of goes like this. And on the other hand, estrogen declines rapidly. And as we all know, it comes with a load of symptoms. And most of those symptoms start in the brain. And this is the reason. So when we're looking at estrogen, it's sort of here, and there's a boof. And then there's this massive drop. And then that's it in terms of estrogen. And this is exactly this massive drop. This is the major difference why our brain changes in this situation. And this starts actually in perimenopause. So if you're telling me, or if you're listening to this because you are in your 30s, you think, oh my God, I'm far away from this. Yes, you are. But if you start now looking after your body and getting all of those nutrients in, which prevent you from even getting the majority of those side effects, wouldn't that be amazing? You sail through your menopause without, or I'm not saying without, but chances are that your hot flushes will be reduced, that you're sleeping better, that your bones are being stronger, and your brain is being healthier. So don't shrug it off only because you're not in your menopause yet.
No, I think it's really important because I know I started noticing, for me, I started noticing when I was 37. Mm-hmm. I did have some hormone treatment earlier, a few years earlier that may have played a role, but it was significant enough when I was 37 to really say, okay, something's going on here. And when you're in your 30s, the doctor's not thinking menopause. They're not even there. The word perimenopause never came out during the times that I was looking for help, for answers. So perimenopause could really be a long time before the actual menopause, which explained to us real quickly. Most of us understand menopause is kind of like this time, but what exactly is the technical definition of menopause, just so everybody's clear, because I think we all have a different definition of what menopause is.
As far as I know, I haven't found a clear definition, because the problem is it is different for each and every one of us. If your friend doesn't have any symptoms until she's in her 50s, but you had symptoms since you are 37, and I don't think there is a clear definition, but we know that the menopausal symptoms can last up to 10 years. That is not really what anybody wants to hear. Please bear with us. There is good news.
There is good news, and I think this is a really good point. So obviously food is a huge part of affecting our body and our brain positively. So we've talked a little bit about the brain. I'm still really intrigued by the connection that truly I never made with menopause and brain function. But also the foods that we were just talking about, Carola, really can help us with our weight. And how does weight affect menopause?
Yeah, it is actually an interesting point, because it's a little bit controversial, because sometimes we're just saying, well, we are in a menopause now, we're gaining weight. It doesn't have to be that way, because you may have heard that it was all over the news, especially in our part of the world, that your metabolism is supposedly slowing down when you're getting older. But it's actually not as bad as we always thought. But the simple fact that we are content with our lives, that we are less active, we're still eating the same, or maybe we're eating even more. So the weight gain during the menopause is not necessarily linked to the menopause. I know that some people may not be happy with what I'm just saying, because it sort of gives us an excuse when we're saying, I'm in the menopause, I'm just gaining a bit of weight.
Right.
But it's just the time of your life or the time of our life where we would like to think more about ourselves, make ourselves a priority. And making myself a priority means that I'm eating well, and that I'm exercising as much as possible. One word about exercise, Denise, if you let me.
Of course.
One of the major side effects of the menopause can be brittle bones, osteoporosis. And one of the best things you can do to avoid osteoporosis is, besides eating foods high in calcium, we get to those in a second, but is exercise. And that's another thing. The exercise is so good for your brain. Here we are again. It's so good for your mood. It's so good for your body. And it's so good for all of the side effects of the menopause, like the lack of sleep, the hot flushes. Everything that's going on in your life will be better if you're exercising. And the beauty of that is that it doesn't really matter how much you do at the moment. Whatever you do now, just do a little bit more. If you have never exercised before, start with a daily walk around the block. If you're already running half marathons, let's go for the big one and run a marathon if you want to. Not my favorite pastime, I admit that, but
I could do a half marathon. I know I can do it. I've been trying to get under 2 hours forever, but I'm
amazing.
2 hours. I'm content because I can do it, and I'm in my 50s now.
Brilliant. That is fantastic. Yeah, but obviously in terms of the foods, you can do something as well. So calcium, we just said that, and it's not only dairy and all things in terms of yogurt and milk and cheese. Oh, cheese bit careful with cheese, please, because it's very high in salt, so not really that great. But you can find calcium in green leafy vegetables, in almonds, for example. You can get, if you're vegetarian or vegan, for example, and your body can't tolerate dairy, you can get your calcium from other sources.
I think that's important. And whenever we think calcium, especially here in the US, growing up, calcium, you drank your milk to get, your calcium. And, as I've gotten older, I'm not lactose intolerant, but I can't drink milk. It's just not something that I've done for so many years. But I think there are some other things. And I don't, like I said, I'm not lactose intolerant. So yogurts, Greek yogurt, and even cottage cheese with the berries, like you said, are high in antioxidants.
Brilliant.
Beautiful, beautiful foods that I think we kind of forget about, especially how often have we heard, oh, dairy is bad for us, dairy, it's inflammatory, which I don't know that there are a ton of studies on that. I would have to do some more research on that myself. But these are things that we start to hear in kind of our health and wellness world. And so stay away from them. But as you mentioned, as we get older during menopause, that the risk of osteoporosis is so much higher. Obviously, it's something, osteoporosis affects women much more than men again.
Again, that's true. Yes. And in terms of the nutrients, there's even more. As an example, vitamin B12, for example, you may have heard it. If you're vegan or vegetarian, you definitely need to take a supplement, because against contrary belief, you can't get B12 from any plant source. It's just not happening. But especially for us menopausal women, it's important to note, as we age, our body loses some of its ability to absorb B12. So the risk of a vitamin B12 deficiency increases as we're getting older. That means we should either take a supplement or increase our intake of fish, of lean meat, and on occasion, some red meat, because it's a good source of vitamin B12, for example. Sorry, go ahead.
I was like, what happens if somebody has a vitamin B12 deficiency? How would they know? What would they feel?
B12 is very closely linked to our nerves, so it's not entirely clear, but I'm not saying it's not clear. It's detectable very easily, but tiredness and mood swings are very closely related to B12. Sometimes you hear about people who need a B12 shot because they are chronically fatigued. And this is where B12 works really well. But for every one of us, a little bit of B12 in your diet is always a good thing to have. And you can easily get it from foods as long as you are eating meat and fish.
Eating the right foods. And it's interesting because when you said the side effects or the symptoms of being tired and mood swings, which are side effects of menopause.
Menopause. Yep, exactly.
So I see I understand where you say, it's hard to detect, because that wouldn't be the first thing that a doctor would think of. It's your B12. Oh, you're in menopause. That would be the first thing that would come to mind. So that's you make a really good point there when it comes to vitamin B12. And years ago, my niece had become vegan. My younger niece, when she was 13, she decided to go vegan, and she did for a few years. And she had to regularly go to the doctor, make sure she was testing, they were testing her vitamin levels, because, at 13, she was still growing. Now she has actually, interestingly, she has, as she's grown up, she's realized that the diet that she was eating was very limiting and limited. And so she's actually changed to a Mediterranean diet. And she's 18 now. So, and it's interesting to see how, just in a teenager, how that changed her mindset changed and her body changed, because obviously she was growing. But there was a couple of years there when she was vegan where she kind of stayed stuck. And then when she started to add in the fatty fishes and the oils and some of the other foods, she had much more energy, and her muscle tone she had much more muscle tone.
I would definitely not recommend for a child to go vegan. For an adult, that's a different story. This can be managed, and it needs a bit of planning to go vegan. But for a child, I would definitely not recommend it. But there it goes to show how important it is to work with the individual and around their needs, around their tastes. That's what I'm always trying to achieve when I work with people on a one-to-one basis. That I have never a plan which I put out of a drawer and here's your plan because that worked for somebody else, so it may work for you. It's all about the individual, about their preferences, about their needs, and what's going on in their lives. And this can be different no matter if it's menopause or not. Even the menopause is obviously it's all different for all of us.
Oh, absolutely. I want to pop back to talk about foods when we were talking about foods for menopause. One thing that we didn't touch on is soy. And soy is another one of those touchy subjects. You have the no, don't touch it camp and the, oh, it's fine camp. Not a lot of people in the middle, though.
That's correct. It's similar point with us here in the UK. I'm actually in the middle camp. I would say that soya products, as long as you have them, I would say in moderation, and the nice word everybody keeps using, even though what does moderation mean for everybody? So I would say if you have a portion of soya every day, it's not the end of the world. I wouldn't go as far as some people and only eat soya products, but that's probably just, I think it's just common sense, because you want to have a varied diet. I think the beautiful thing about nutrition for me is that it's inclusive. No matter what your diet preference is, it's my job to make it healthy. And I work with carnivores, I work with vegans, I work with people with eating disorders, I work with companies, and everybody has their own view about things, and I'll guide them into a direction. But I think moderation and as inclusive as possible is probably the way forward. Yes, the soya products are very high in protein. So if you are vegetarian or vegan, it's a very good source of protein. It can help with side effects like hot flushes, because it contains the phytoestrogens. But if you are overdoing it, it can just go wrong. And then, but then, I don't know, personally, I just don't like it particularly. And that's another thing. If I tell you that you should eat a portion of broccoli every day and you don't like broccoli, you would look at me and say, I'm not going to do this. So it's about making it work for you.
I'm glad that you said that, because that is actually a key point that I say at Living Healthy List all the time, is to help people find the healthy, happy lifestyle that works for them. And yeah. I'm with you. I'm the inclusive camp. I don't believe in what I call the buckets, you know, the keto bucket, the paleo bucket, the vegan or the vegetarian bucket. I don't believe in that, because it takes so many delicious, healthful foods out of the main diet. Now, I have seen some of them work for people who needed to lose a lot of weight. I've seen that, but I think with most of those type of diets, there's a start, a beginning, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think the end result should be not just the weight loss, though that is what most people are looking for, but that end result should be including all of the delicious foods. And I mean real healthful foods, not necessarily the cakes and the cookies that people stop eating when they are on one of these diets or in one of these buckets, as I call them.
I think whenever we come across another new wonder diet out there, it's important to ask ourselves two questions. The first one, is it healthy? How does it look like? And the second one, can I do it forever? Because none of the diets out there are meant for you to do it forever, because they're all focusing on something specific, either to get into your diet or to take out of your diet. And this is just not natural. And the reason why, especially the low carbohydrate diets, all of the keto diets, they are really restrictive. And I think this is, it's just not the way we are supposed to eat. We're not supposed to eat in a restrictive way. Yes, there can be a certain health issue. There can be a certain reason why we have to do that for a month. But I'm talking generally. So please don't take my word for it if you have a health condition or a heart problem or whatever it is. Obviously, that's different. But generally, for the majority of us, it's about enjoying food. It's about choosing the right foods and staying away from things like trans fats, all the fats that are being produced when we are over processing things. And all of that will make a massive difference not only for your perimenopause, for your menopause, but for your whole life. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. If you would like to know more about how to help your body through the menopause, on Living Healthy List, you will find a short online course with all the details about the phytoestrogens, about all the nutrients that can help you, and the exercises and everything else which is relevant.
It's a fabulous course. I'm really grateful to you, Carola, because it really, it brings, like you said, it's short, but it is jam-packed with the information that we need and the information that we're not getting from our doctors and our nurses, and even our, even our moms. It's been a subject that until recently we haven't been comfortable talking about. And I think what I love about our conversation is you've taken the taboo away from it by thinking of this or talking about it from your brain aspect, not an emotional aspect, not necessarily a physical aspect, but we know that that's part of it, but that all stems from how your brain is functioning. And
indeed, yeah.
Fantastic. What else? Let's see. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Something we didn't touch on that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think the other option I wanted to quickly share is how stress has an impact on your brain and on the menopause at the same time, because listening to your body and its needs, especially during your menopause, with things like really mindful resting, not slumping on the sofa watching Netflix, but really resting, really doing something like a meditation, maybe a breathing exercise to support your mental well-being. Avoiding and reducing stress, no matter if that's work stress or family stress or anything else, simply because the cortisol, that's the main stress hormone, is actually normally in balance with estrogen. And because obviously you're lacking estrogen, your cortisol has more space to grow, more space to move, because oh my God, yay, the estrogen is no longer kicking me out of here. Exactly, I'll just get my elbows out. So as long as you're able to reduce your stress, and this can be either with physical activity or with mental activity or with physical rest or with mental rest. And that all can really help you. Yoga in the evening, for example, is fantastic for sleeping. Lots of my clients confirm that. But things like Tai Chi and acupuncture are really safe ways to manage stress symptoms. And I'm sure you've got many other experts within our group who can really elaborate on that one. But the whole stress effect of our brain is a really big one. And that's one to really calm yourself down. It will be fine.
Thank you for that. I think I'm really glad you brought that up. Again, it all goes back to our brain and how our brain is functioning. And when we're stressed, we're not functioning properly. And again, that with the cortisol, it affects our emotions, it affects us physically, it affects us mentally. And so truly, our conversation today really is about helping your brain stay healthy, stay functioning by truly eating nutritious foods, by exercising, lessening your stress, and with all that, living that, healthy, happy life through menopause. And we know there will still be some symptoms, we know that, but I absolutely see how by starting today, whether you're 30 or 50, how this can affect in a very positive way the side effects of menopause, because part of the side effects, I think part of our challenge with the side effects is how we mentally handle them. And so Carola, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Denise. It was lovely to see you.
It's always a pleasure talking to you. For those of you who are watching us, thank you for being here. If you have any questions for Carola, the information, her contact information will be on in YouTube and on Facebook underneath this video. So you'll be able to connect with her right there. You can, of course, also connect with her through livinghealthylist.com. Go check out Carola's profile. It tells a little bit more about what she does and how she can help you. So thank you again, everyone. Have an amazing week. We will see you next week, Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Until then, healthy living, happy life. Have a great week.
Bye now.